I feel so very lucky to have now started and exited 2 companies here in North Carolina. I started my first company, Motricity, from the dorm room at the North Carolina School of Science and Math just down the road. I stood on this very same stage at the CED conference many years ago, and I met an investor in the audience, and this was post the bubble bursting, and that investor went on to lead our second round of funding, a round of funding that made all of the difference in the world for our company. Motricity went on to reach over $100 million in annual revenues, employed over 500 people at its peak. In 2008, I had the chance to start my second company, which was Appia. We survived 2 pivots. Our initial idea didn't work, but we were one of the first companies to help solve the app discovery problem as the App Store got more crowded. We launched app install ads in 2011, and we ended up driving over 100 million app installs for companies from Uber to Facebook to Candy Crush. And we grew the business to a $50 million run rate, and we were acquired last year. I took a year off after being an entrepreneur for 15 years. I traveled some, I got married, and I am now really lucky to be working on my 3rd startup, which is called Sift. It all started with the realization that all of us have on average about 40 different apps on our smartphones, Androids and iPhones. And when you think about that, there are now over 2 million apps in the App Store. And granted, we all have some of the same apps like Facebook, but it's those unique apps that define us. And the probability, just think about it, the probability that we would each have the same set of 41 apps is 1 in billions and billions. So we believe at Sift that that set of apps on your device creates a unique digital fingerprint for who you are. And so we set about trying to collect all of that information. Our vision at Sift is to build this thing we're calling the App Graph. It's a massive, anonymous, global database of everybody in the world. And we're collecting the apps that are on your phone and any other kind of information that we can collect about you. And the initial way that we're going to monetize all this data is by using that data on the apps that are on your phone to serve very targeted, personalized ads on RTB exchanges. So what is RTB? RTB stands for real-time bidding. To make a long story short, all the ads that you see on the internet or on your smartphone are now auctioned off in near real time on these exchanges that are run by giant companies from Google to Facebook to Twitter to AOL. And think of it like the stock market, like the New York Stock Exchange. And think of Sift as like having a seat on the exchange. As an entrepreneur, I like big, fast-growing markets. RTB is multi-billion-dollar, and the mobile part of RTB is the fastest growing. And the way we're monetizing it is taking a line from Facebook and Google. App installs now have become one of their largest sources of revenue, over $5 billion from app installs. It's also a business that we know a lot about from our work at Appia. We've struck 5 RTB partnerships now so far since the beginning of the year when we started. AOL, followed by Smato in Europe, OpenX, most recently this summer Twitter's exchange, and we just signed a deal with Google, which should be going live very soon. And we're starting to collect a ton of data. We now have reached 640 million profiles, that's the blue line, globally. In the US, 336 million profiles. Just think about that for a second. The population of the US is 325 million. Obviously, many of us have multiple devices. People are getting new phones every day. But at this point, I think it's safe to say we have a profile on virtually everyone in the US, everyone in this room. And we've seen you on average 30 times. And every time we see you, we're tracking as much information on the apps that you have and any other information that we can, your phone model, your carrier, even your location. And so again, the part of the data that is most fascinating to us is the set of apps that you have on your phone. And this is what this app graph looks like. This is a very small subset of the database. And what we're mapping are the connections between each of these millions of apps that are out there and each of the users in our profile database. And using advanced math to target these ads. And it's starting to work. We've now generated app installs from 86 different advertisers, from Zillow to McDonald's to Pandora. And while it's still small, we're starting to generate a little bit of revenue. This is actually a daily chart of Sift's revenue since the beginning of the year. Especially this summer, it's really started to ramp, and the trend is encouraging. This is the team that's making it all happen. The founding team of 4 are all people that worked with me at my last startup, including my co-founder, Slavik Pruchnik. These are 4 of the smartest people I've ever had the chance to work with. We're supported by a part-time data science team from Duke that's helping us with the math, and a very part-time finance team as well. Lastly, we are not raising a round of funding right now, but as part of creating Sift, it was a spin out from the company that acquired my last company, Digital Turbine. Public company, they own 10% of Sift. At this point, they are potentially interested in selling some or all of their 10% stake. We raised an initial round of seed capital of a little over $3 million at the end of last year. It was led by Steve Nelson and Wakefield Group, with participation from Piedmont Capital, Alarian Ventures, Idea Fund Partners, and several angels. So if you're interested in what we're building, please contact me. Thank you all very much.